go again, guys. It's time to get ready for another ride. Get ready to have your freedoms and liberties and guns attacked once again. Now, of course, we should always be on guard. Our freedoms and liberties and our guns are constantly under attack, but now they've got new ammo to use against us because just yesterday there was a racially motivated white supremacist shooting in Jacksonville, Florida. And if you haven't heard about it yet, well, you're going to hear about it now. Essentially, the way the story breaks down, and I'll try to be brief here, we don't know the person's name, which is fine because, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be giving their name out anyway because, you know, unlike the mainstream media and our government, I don't like to make these people famous other than to just call them, well, human garbage that really we should have put down a long time ago. But apparently, this person, called a young man, white supremacist, he went to the Edward Waters University. This is a historically black college in Jacksonville, Florida. He went there, called his father, told his father, look at my computer, then hung up the phone. His father went to the computer, found what's being described as several manifestos describing what he intended to do and why he was doing what he was doing. That was set to go out on social media. The family then immediately called the police, explained all this to them, but of course by that point it was too late. While at the college, he donned what's being described as a bulletproof tactical vest. I don't know if it was bulletproof, either way, doesn't really matter. And then went to a Dollar General, either on campus or close to campus, not sure about that yet, and proceeded to kill 3 black people, 2 men and 1 woman, before turning the gun on himself and doing what we wish he would have done in his parents' basement before any of this happened, and just put him out of the world's misery, and we'd all be much, much happier. But of course, he waited till he'd killed some others before doing that. The police investigated the scene, investigated the manifestos, and then publicly announced that this was a racially motivated white supremacist killing. Now, they also did say they don't believe that this had anything to do with any greater conspiracy. They don't believe he was acting with anyone else's guidance or help. They do believe he was acting alone. Because, of course, why would any lone gunman get involved with anybody else to help him plan something like this? I mean, you know, the FBI, I mean, white supremacist groups don't do that kind of thing, right? But they do believe he was acting alone, and I am positive they are going to be releasing these manifestos. Why? Well, because it fits the narrative. It fits the narrative of the United States being an incredibly evil, racist, white supremacist country that needs to have all its guns taken away from all its citizens. This one fits the narrative. So we, of course, will see the manifesto to this at some point, probably very, very soon in the next few days. Unlike, of course, the Nashville shooting, where a trans psychotic person went and killed a bunch of children in a school, and we still haven't seen that one, even though that one happened months ago. But this one, I'm sure we'll get all the information we need because it does fit the narrative, and that one didn't. So we don't need to see the manifesto for that one, right? Like, that's fine. It's just because of bigotry that she did what she did, and not because she was insane or had any motivations that had anything to do with her being trans or on the left or a part of that movement. But this guy, it certainly wasn't because he was insane or just a bad person or anything else. It was definitely because America is racist and all that good stuff. So we'll see his manifesto. So be on the lookout for that one. It'll be posted everywhere, I'm sure. CNN and MSNBC will be just foaming at the mouth to put that one out there. So be prepared for that. But mostly be prepared to have your liberties and freedoms and rights and guns attacked very, very, very soon. Okay? Because it's coming. and they will go after your freedoms and liberties. You know, like the freedom and liberty of everyone in this country, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter, to be able to defend yourself against any and all forms of tyranny, whether that be a corrupt government or, you know, just a criminal, I don't know, maybe walking into a Dollar General looking to kill some people. Would have been nice if some of those people had had guns to defend themselves. But, you know, they don't want that. And be prepared for the propaganda. Almost every story I have seen coming out in the media just in the last few hours since this happened has absolutely been mentioning that there's already been 469 mass shootings already this year in 2023, and we're already only in August. I mean, they don't tell you that 99% of those mass shootings take place because of drug and gang violence. And most of those mass shootings take place in Democrat-controlled cities like Chicago, or on the border in, well, also Democrat-controlled cities that have to do with gangs and drugs and cartels. But they don't mention that because they want you to think every mass shooting is because of some white supremacist, even though this is the only one. But that doesn't fit the narrative. So they won't talk about that or really go into any details on what those other 469 mass shootings actually were, or what caused them, or who the people involved were, or what their motivations were, because again, that doesn't fit the narrative of stripping you of freedoms, liberties, rights, and guns to give them more control over you. So they're not going to talk about that. So just kind of read between the lines and just be prepared for the onslaught of attacks that will be coming in the days and weeks ahead, and how this will be talked about as a national crisis and something we must do about, well, guns and white supremacy and the racism just always apparent in the United States, because that's what's coming and you need to know about it and be prepared for it. Now, of course, you, as a citizen of this country, should always be prepared to be attacked, because we always are constantly getting attacked to have our rights, freedoms, and liberties stripped away. And that, obviously, most importantly for the other side, does include your gun rights, because, see, they don't want you to be able to protect yourself. So, you know, there's that. And, oh, of course, by the way, the guns he used were a handgun of some kind, we don't know, and, well, an AR-15 style weapon, which probably was an AR-15 because, I mean, it's the most popular gun in the United States of America across the board. Millions and millions, tens of millions of them in the hands of citizens all across this country. So, you know, doesn't really mean anything that he used an AR-15. It's kind of like saying the chef used a knife. Well, yeah, it's a chef. He probably used a knife, but, you know, they'll still spin it because they want to take your AR-15s or AK-47s or really just any semi-automatic rifle or even carbine away. Period. End of story. And then once they've done that, because that's the low-hanging fruit, then they move down a little bit. Maybe they go after all long guns, or maybe they go after semi-automatic handguns next. Before you know it, we'll just have revolvers, bolt-action rifles, lever-action cowboy guns, and then once that's all we have, then they'll take that too, and we'll be back to black powder guns until they realize, well, that's a problem too, and we gotta go ahead and take those as well, because we don't want the people to be able to defend themselves, never mind the fact that criminals don't pay attention to the law and will get these guns anyway, and then it'll just be a defenseless population stuck between the criminals on the street and the criminals in the government. But you know, that's life living in America, where you're constantly having to worry about protecting your rights and freedoms and liberties. So, there you go, guys. There's what's going on right now. Prepare yourselves. Of course, you should always be prepared because we're constantly under attack, but you need to understand what the newest threat is and what is being used against us, even though the rest of us, you know, aren't criminals, aren't mass shooters, and aren't white supremacists. They'll still try to imply that we are, because that's what always happens in these situations. So, prepare yourselves, be ready, because it's It's coming.